Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to the Sports Perspective TV. As always, thank you for tuning in. And in this video, we're going to be discussing the Jamaica Premier League playoff and quarterfinal round. The first leg of matches, took place over the weekend. So we're going to be reviewing the results and the performances, and also looking forward to the second leg that will be coming up. I'm also going to be looking at the Jamaica under-18 team, and their performance in the under-18 tournament in Europe. There's a lot of talk going around right now about their recent loss against Turkey. So we're going to be talking about that, and also looking at what can be learned, from that loss that they had against Turkey. Because it's one thing to highlight the negative, but there is always something that can be learned from it, and I'm sure there are a lot of positives that can be taken from it and applied going forward. Both for the players involved and the coaches, but more importantly for the JFF and the decision makers in Jamaican football. So starting with the Premier League, the Jamaica Premier League. So the first round of the playoffs started, and there were some good matchups, so the matchups in the round was so Waterhouse went up against Tivoli Gardens, and Portmore United went up against Arnhem. So in the match between Waterhouse and Tivoli Gardens, that match, it finished in a draw, in a 1-1 draw. And obviously it being a draw, going into the next match, both teams have everything to play for, because there won't be a draw in the second leg. There has to be a winner, whether the winner comes in regulation time or extra time or whatever else. But there has to be a winner to move on to the next round. And both teams were happy with the draw, but both teams also know that they have to play better, going into the next match. So based on the words of the Tivoli Gardens coach, it was a game of two halves. Waterhouse, started the first half better. Tivoli didn't start the first half how they wanted to, and so Waterhouse ended up scoring in the first half, and so going into the second half, Waterhouse had a lead, but Tivoli were able to get the equalizer in the second half, and they finished the second half stronger than how they started the first half. And Tivoli actually felt as if they could have and should have won the match based on their performance in the second half, but the result ended up being a draw. So both teams have everything to play for, in the second leg of the tie. In the match between Portmore United and Arnett Gardens, Portmore started out the match, better, started the first half. They played better in the first half. They played well in the first half, and they were able to get a lead in the first half through an own goal from Philando Wing, the Arnett Gardens player. But in the second half, Arnett Gardens came out a lot stronger, and were definitely the better team in the second half, and they were able to get an equalizer in the match. I think it was in the 81st minute, from their captain, Fabian Reid. He scored a goal he's been reliable for Arnett Gardens over the years, and this year, hasn't been any different. He wasn't with the team for the first half of the season, but since his return to the team, he has been scoring goals, and he is even in contention for the Golden Boot. Even though there's quite a few goals between him and the leader, leader of the current leading scorer, but he is in contention. He's one of the top scorers in the Premier League, even though he missed a good portion of the league, and that just goes to show his consistency for Arnett Gardens. And he showed up big for them in the playoffs and scored the equalizer for them against Portmore. And based on his words as well, he was disappointed that Arnett Gardens didn't pull off the victory, because there were a lot of chances created by Arnett Gardens, especially in the second half, which they failed to put away, and hence the game, ended in a 1-1 draw. So, in looking forward to the second leg of the fixture, that's one thing that Arnett Gardens definitely, want to improve on, on their finishing in front of goal, and they think that if they are able to do that, put away their chances when they create them, they will prevail and move on to the next round of the playoffs. But Portmore United as well, like I said, they played in the first half, they played well, and both teams are quality teams. Arnett Gardens and Portmore United are quality teams. They have quality players on their team, so it won't be easy for either team, both teams will definitely have to come out and put their best foot forward in the second leg to get the desired result. So it's going to be very exciting. The second leg of both matches, both matches are tied. So, all teams, will have everything to play for, if they want to move on to the next round of the playoffs. So far, so good. It was, and I must say as well, the support of the fan support for the Jamaica Premier League playoffs, was excellent. Sabina Park, there was a lot of fans in the stands, and it's good to see, as a fan of Jamaican football and the Jamaican Premier League, that fans, turned up to support the teams, in the playoffs. And from what I've heard, there hasn't been that much people at Sabina Park, in a while. Last year there was a good turnout as well, but this the playoff so far, has topped that the turnout. So that's definitely a good look, for Jamaican football. Getting the fans are more engaged in what's going on in the Premier League, and hopefully by extension, that will also lead to more fans turning up for Jamaica Reggae Boyz games, in the summer, as the World Cup qualifiers start out as well. And I must give a huge shout out to 876 Stream. They have been doing a brilliant job, with the Jamaican Premier League, marketing the Jamaica Premier League, both on social media and traditional media as well. And it's their partnership with the JPL that has definitely been a contributor to the rise in fan support for the Jamaica Premier League. And I hope they just continue their good work, and continue to build their partnership with Jamaica Premier League and the JFF, and just continue to build fan support and fan engagement, in and fan interest in the Jamaica Premier League. So big shout out to A76 Stream on the job that they have done so far, with the Jamaica Premier League, and now their partnership with JFF as well. Hopefully, that can be a very successful partnership as well. So that's it for the Jamaica Premier League, So again, just a review, so both matches are tied 1-1 going into the second leg, So Waterhouse and Tivoli Gardens are tied, and Arnett Gardens and Portmore United as well are tied going into the second leg of their fixtures. So now let's just move on to talk about the Jamaica under-18 team that's currently on tour in Europe. They are currently playing in a tournament in Europe against so they're playing against so in their group they have Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Mali. So they're playing against African opponents. Saudi Arabia is from the Middle East and Turkey is our European team. So it's a good blend of regions participating in this tournament, which is definitely good for the Jamaicans to get that experience playing against opponents from different regions of the world, just to gauge where they are compared to other areas in the world, right? And in their first match they lost 2-1 to Saudi Arabia, so that was a close encounter there. But in the second match they suffered a huge defeat to Turkey. They lost 10-1 to Turkey, so that's been a huge talking point for football fans of Jamaica and in the media as well, about that disappointing loss. And of course, it is disappointing, football, to lose a football match by such a huge margin. And but there's always things that can be learned from these situations. And like I mentioned earlier, not only for the players and the coaches that are involved, but for the decision makers in Jamaica football and the Jamaica Football Federation. So suffering such a huge defeat, there can be a lot of factors. It might be the team wasn't prepared well enough, or with that, but such a huge margin of victory, it also goes to show that from my opinion, the team, the quality, there was a huge, vast difference in the quality of the players, right? So the Turkish players were definitely better, and I don't think any amount of preparation or better preparation, it might have not make the margin that big, but the quality of the Turkey team would have still gotten them a good victory, right? So definitely disappointing, but I think it's an eye opener, for the Jamaica Football Federation first of all, because the team is representing Jamaica, and the Jamaica Football Federation, they are the administrators of Jamaican football. It should be an eye opener for them and the decision makers of in Jamaica football. Because one thing that you've heard them continually speak about, over the years, whenever they speak about youth football, is that they are always of this belief that in youth football, that Jamaicans are superior to other teams, and it's just a transition from youth football or age group football to the senior level where the issue comes in. And they've constantly harped on that point, for years, always saying that, up to a certain age group, Jamaica can dominate any team because they're bigger, stronger, and faster than most teams in the world, but we have not seen that materialize to qualifications to any youth World Cups in recent years. And even now, them going to this tournament, we see where they have not won any matches as yet. But not only that, they're suffering huge defeats, right? So that should be an eye opener to them, to make them realize that, whatever they think of the youth football in Jamaica, it's not up to the standard of world football currently. So their view might have been so in the past, but right now, that's not so. Because teams are around the world are constantly improving, and so it should be an eye opener to them, to not only make them realize that, whatever they're doing, they need to do something different. And this team was predominantly, domestic based players, and I don't have anything against domestic based players. I think they also need to get the experience and the exposure to world football, so they can see the quality that that's out there, and what they'll have to go up against, as they grow and as they try to transition to the senior team. So it's definitely a good experience for the domestic based players, but the decision makers in Jamaican football, they have a tendency to try and cap the amount of foreign based players that can play for the youth teams, and try to push domestic youth players, which from there, it's a good, well, so not the quota system is not good, because all players should have an equal chance. But as far as why they do it, or why they say they do it, right? Because at the youth level, you want to encourage the youngsters to keep playing and reward them, when they show that they have quality, but you also don't want to push them into competitions against higher quality opponents that, where they can suffer embarrassing losses like this, because that can also demoralize them as well if they don't have the right support system around them. So it should be an eye opener to the JFF that they should not limit the youth teams to just domestic based players, but they should strive to include, to have a good balance of foreign-based players and domestic-based players in the team, and not just push domestic-based based players in the team. And that's if their intention from these youth tournaments is for the development of the players and for the players, or for the team to actually win matches, right? Because nobody wants to go in a tournament and not win. So I would assume that their intentions from going to these matches is both development of the players and both to actually perform well in the competition. And if you and even some of the coaches themselves and some of the decision makers in Jamaican football have said that the current level of coaching in Jamaica, hasn't been up to isn't the best standard, but they are taking steps to improve, which is true, but it's not there as yet. So if the coaching is not there, the development of the players won't be there, because the coaches are the ones that are developing the players, right? So they have to continue working on the development of the coaches, and by extension the development of the players, and until that is at a good level, and even when it does get to a good level, they should always, when picking a youth team, make sure that they give all eligible Jamaicans a fair opportunity of making the team, and not just limited to domestic-based players or limited to a quota of foreign-based players. If the foreign-based players have the quality, they should be given the opportunity to play for Jamaica in these tournaments. But again, that's if the decision makers in Jamaican football, if their intention is to win the tournament and for Jamaica to perform as best as possible. And if that's their intention, the best possible team should be out there, and the best possible team should definitely includes foreign-based Jamaican youth players as well, and not just Jamaican players. So I hope, this loss to Turkey, acts as an eye-opener for Jamaica Football Federation and the decision makers in Jamaican football. And like I said, while it's demoralizing, a 10-1 loss, there are things that can be learned from the loss, which will allow them to improve going forward. So, again, I hope that they learn, what can be learned from the loss, and so they can improve, going forward. But that's all I have for you in this video, viewers and subscribers. As always, thanks for tuning in. Do remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comment section. I'll see you in the next video.